because I had other indie bookstores that I would visit in New England when I went to college as a frame of reference. I thought, how cool would it be if something like that existed here on the border by the sea?
You responded
Yes.
when the news came out to the public,
Right.
very diplomatically.
Yes.
And graciously, I would say, given the history of these bookstores and their denial of our community.
Right. The presence of a Barnes & Nobles in Brownsville is a net positive for the city.
Hi, everyone. My name is Fernanda Martinez-Donaus, and I am the Executive Director of RioProgress and your host for RioProgress, the podcast. I'm very excited today. We have a very important community leader here to join us. This is a person who had a vision for a really cool business in the city and worked very hard to make it happen. And has now created what I think is an amazing community-centered space that I love to spend a lot of time in. So our guest for today is Gilbert Hernandez, and I'm going to let him tell us a little bit about himself.
Well, first and foremost, Fernanda, thank you for having me. It is an honor to be here in this fabulous studio. I didn't think I'd be here today, but thank you. Thank you for the honor of having me at the other side of this desk. But yes, I am Gilbert Hernandez. I am the founder of Búho, Brownsville's one and only independent bookstore. This whole crazy project of mine started in a way as a radical career change, but at the same time, while also tackling a community issue. Before Búho, Brownsville did not have a bookstore for well over 12 years.
I know.
Yes, the last one was the Walden Books, which sadly closed after the Great Recession. Some people say that it closed because Brownsville didn't appreciate literature or we didn't support it. No, that's not true. It was because of the economic downturn in the late first decade of the 2000s. So since then, quite a few readers were sending letters, emails to Barnes & Nobles, Half Price Books, big name bookstores. But they all responded with something along the lines of that because of the data that they got, a bookstore of their size, more than anything, of their size would not thrive precisely in Brownsville at that time. Looks like they have changed their mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've heard rumors that they've decided, actually, we do like to read.
Yes. And we could talk about we could talk about that later on. But when I came back to Brownsville after college, people kept on complaining over and over again. We don't have a bookstore. We have to go over to McAllen. We have to go over to the island. So late one night, I'm normally a morning shower person, but I must have gone outside for the day and took a shower at night. And that's when it hit me in the form of a question. Is Brownsville, Texas, the largest city in America without a bookstore?
Ooh. Are we?
Well,
no longer.
Yeah, well, we have 200,000 people, no bookstores at all. Except the campus bookstore in the college and a couple of Christian bookstores. Niche bookstores, all great in their own way, but no traditional bookstores as we know and love. So I pulled an all-nighter to figure it out.
Oh, no. Using them college lessons.
Yes, very much so, very much so. And that's when I realized the answer was basically yes.
Okay.
There were a handful of cities larger than Brownsville without bookstores, but they were in dense metropolitan areas where that's not an issue.
Got it. They could get to one relatively easily.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe your city has 300,000 people, but the Barnes & Nobles may be 12 minutes down the express.
Got it. Okay.
No big deal. But I learned that night that Brownsville was the largest metropolitan area whose principal city did not have a bookstore. I was the only person in the world with that information. And I had to do something about it.
And you did something with it.
Yes. I kept it under wraps. When I would discuss it to people at BCIC, I had them sign NDA for.
Oh my goodness. I did not know this piece of the lore.
Yes.
So for the record, I am a Búho Rewards member. So I get a lot of the lore in the emails Instagram posts you'll do sometimes, but I did not know this piece of it, that you would make them sign NDAs.
Yes, because I thought I was onto something big. I was onto something huge, especially because I had other indie bookstores that I would visit in New England when I went to college as a frame of reference. I thought, how cool would it be if something like that existed here on the border by the sea? So I had to start very, very small in the form of a pop-up shop.
I do remember these days.
Yes. This whole business was built on the back of a $5,000 credit card that the bank gave me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You really made a lot with a little.
Yes. But all with the idea, we are going to prove these big bookstores wrong. Brownsville does indeed have readers. People were all for it.
Yeah, you had a following pretty early on, because I think people were wanting this for a long time, myself included, but you made it accessible to people.
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit, I know this, but for the audience sake, what do you mean by it started small? What did that look like?
It was basically one table, 2 library carts, 500 pounds of books in the back of my pickup truck, selling them wherever they would let me do it. At vendors fairs, some people like Michael Limas allowed me to sell books in the space where Boquerón is right now. Graham over at 7th and Park had invited me to sell books every second weekend for a whole summer when we were still a little pop-up shop. So it's things like that where different leaders in the community wanted to see this become a reality. In addition to the accessibility that you were asking, all of Búho's books started as secondhand. I would get them for cheap wherever I could find them. Some people even donated them out of the kindness of their hearts. They originally ranged from $5 to $7 on average. Every now and then I would get some special antique books and I would mark them up accordingly. But yeah, that's how it started, as a little pop-up shop. Then the storefront fell from heaven. That's another story of its own. And since then, it's been taking on a life of its own.
And you've been doing a lot to make it not just a bookstore, but a community space.
Correct.
I know. So I saw the book cart days and the table days. And then we were there for the opening and seeing it start. And now it's grown into something even bigger, where you have tables for people to come and sit at, board games, activities.
Right.
I missed the first inaugural trivia night, but I'm really hoping that it makes a comeback for year 2. Because it is such a cool space that you're building there for people to just come and be a part of a community. And I think that's really amazing.
Thank you.
I want to go back a little bit and ask about your background prior to Búho, because I know, because I did a little bit of research, that you majored in mechanical engineering.
Yes.
And, well, those things don't seem to go together. So I just want to know how, first of all, how did we get to mechanical engineering? What was that process like? But then how does that turn into entrepreneurship and everything that you've been doing as a business owner?
Sometimes I make the joke. How do I say this? Sometimes I like to make the joke, only an engineer could have brought a bookstore back to Brownsville.
And I think that's probably true, right? The problem solving, the curiosity.
Exactly. To answer your questions, growing up, I was the quintessential nerd.
Okay. I would have never guessed.
I got straight A's as a kid. Up to around maybe 11th grade. I feel like every kid who starts having effortless straight A's eventually gets to a point where the requirement to begin working to study for those grades starts to get the best of them.
Yes.
For me, that was 11th grade.
Okay.
But throughout all this time, all these teachers kept on saying, Gilbert, you're so smart, you're so bright, you should be an engineer, especially because I was a little bit more inclined to math and science, at least as far as grades were concerned. Then when college application time came around, I mainly focused on engineering schools, particularly out-of-state schools, because get this, when I was in high school, I wanted nothing more than to get the heck away from Brownsville.
I think that's where a lot of us start this journey.
Yes. And to add a little bit more to that, which further adds to the irony of where I am right now, I applied to all out-of-state schools, and I only said yes to WPI in Worcester, Massachusetts, because of the schools that accepted me. It was geographically furthest away.
You went based off of literal mileage away from Brownsville.
That is sadly correct.
Okay. Do you regret that choice?
No.
Okay.
I feel like the curriculum was very useful to me. I knew maybe at around halfway through that it wasn't necessarily for me. But it
engineering, you mean?
Engineering, yes.
Okay.
But it did give me some very valuable skills that I'll be happy to expand on in a little bit, as well as introducing me to people from all walks of life, different parts of America, different parts of the world. It gave me the opportunity to live in China for six months.
Did you do study abroad?
Sort of. It was... part of WPI's graduation requirements is to do 2 engineering projects. One of which is most commonly done off campus. Well, I did both of those off campus.
You're like, let's get even further away.
Right. I mean, maybe engineering wasn't fully for me, but I felt more engaged with Mandarin, which is actually my minor.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
I studied Mandarin, not nearly that much, but I was also really intrigued by the language. That's really cool.
Yes.
Okay, so you did an engineering project in China as a result?
Yeah, 2 actually.
Oh, yes. That's amazing.
Yeah, 3 months in Hangzhou, 3 months in Beijing.
Okay, what were these projects?
Okay, the first one in Hangzhou, oh my gosh. It was kind of given to us, but the idea was that we were under the supervision of this one department in Hangzhou, specifically the province, Zhejiang, I think is what it's called, where they wanted to find a way to make more efficient traffic, parking, how the cars should be
organized.
Right. Because for the longest time, China was almost entirely dependent on public transportation.
Yes.
But now that it is starting to mingle with the rest of the world due to the free market, the Chinese are starting to flirt with cars.
Yes.
And, well, Chinese
cities. And there's
cities,
a lot of people.
Right. Chinese cities are better suited for public transportation. But the people like the cars.
They're doing the opposite of what a lot of American cities are doing, which is trying to move back towards walkable public transit.
Right.
And it's going the other way.
Right. And granted, this was maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
I don't know where they're at right now.
But you helped with that.
Yes.
Okay.
I helped to acquire data for them to use for their smart city model.
Okay.
I don't know if they actually use the data.
Well, but you learned the skills of data gathering and data collecting.
Right. And more than anything, which is actually a skill that I use currently. When you do a survey, you have to be very, very, very mindful with how you ask your question to get the answer you want.
Yes. What was the example for that you like? Did you learn the lesson because you worded something wrong?
I cannot think of a specific question off the top of my head, but for instance, I recently went to a book selling conference in New York City. And
that's what you were doing.
Yes.
I see the Instagram.
Yeah. And one of the number one recommended questions to ask in a small business survey is how likely are you to recommend
this to a friend?
Yes. from 1 to 5. But I was the only one to raise my hand and say, I don't like how you're phrasing that. Because the way I see it, you have to give concrete examples as to what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means. Whereas 5 is, I will mention this business every single day of my life. Or maybe 3 is, it is likely if books come up in conversation, I possibly could bring up Búho.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Whereas 1 is, now that I think of it, I may not have mentioned Búho to anyone.
Ever.
Right. So, and then 2 could be like an intermediate of that. 4 could be an intermediate of that. And then you have the surveyees answer in a way that best corresponds to what they're feeling. So it's things like that where you have to be very,
you have
to be very precise with how you word your questions to get the answers you want.
I think that also helps for the person answering it, right? To have context and not just be like, well, I mean, I really like the store.
Right.
So.
5.
But that, you're right. Like, I would say I'm probably a 4 on that scale. But I would have probably rated it a 5 if I didn't have the context of like, well, I'm mentioning this every day to every person I know.
Right. And that's why I tell everyone, like, we are indie bookstores. People love us. Of course, they're going to give us 5s, but that doesn't help us.
Yeah, you need more context and more knowledge.
Right.
So I think that is a really good segue into one of the main questions I have for you today, which is and I want to get there in a maybe roundabout way, but you talk about halfway through your program, you realize mechanical engineering was not for you,
right? Which
I fully understand. It's a hard program, but you finish it out anyway.
I did.
Why?
Well, to begin with, I was under scholarships.
Okay.
I had the privilege of receiving scholarships. That was one of the stipulations. I had to finish everything in 4 years.
Okay.
Because after that, I wouldn't have that privilege anymore. I would have to request financial aid, get some student loans, what have you. So that definitely helped with that as an incentive. In addition, I didn't want to leave this unfinished. Granted, there's all these...
You like a checklist.
Yes. And granted, it's part of the mythos of the quote-unquote self-made person.
Yeah.
They didn't necessarily finish college. They studied what they needed to go, then they dropped out, then they did big things.
Well... some self-made people.
But would you agree it's part of the mythos?
Yeah,
quote unquote,
for sure.
Yeah, part of the quote unquote mythos. But no, I felt the need to finish what I started.
Okay.
Especially after I got to a certain point. The advanced classes are definitely built on the foundations of the beginning classes, and I felt that I had that quite well under my belt. So maybe I didn't do my engineering classes as well as my peers, but I definitely knew how to contribute to the group projects in a very meaningful way. WPI was heavily about group projects.
Lots of collaboration.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, it's an incredible school. If you are interested in engineering in a legitimate way, if it's calling to your soul as opposed to teachers telling you, oh, I think you might do well, consider WPI in Worcester, Massachusetts.
So you stuck it out because you wanted to see this thing that you started through.
Yes.
What do you do when you graduate and you realize this is not the thing you want to do?
Well, the first job I got immediately out of college, had absolutely nothing to do with engineering.
Okay.
It was managing a series of scientific conferences in Waterville Valley, New Hampshire. So,
I love New Hampshire.
yes. We were talking about Exeter just
now.
It was a group that was present during our career fair during senior year. I went up to them very confidently, asking them if they wanted engineers. I handed them the resume, and they go, we don't really do engineering. But for some reason, they offered me an interview.
Okay.
I did the interview. I got the job. I mean, one thing is to say, I used to think, oh, maybe I'm not fully accepting this because of imposter syndrome or whatever. I don't know. I feel like
it is a little bit of a leap.
Yeah. Yes.
But I will say, and we tell this to our students often, but sometimes your major doesn't really matter. What matters is that you know how to learn.
Yes.
And that you know how to work.
Yes.
And if you come from a rigorous enough school, they know that you know how to stay up all night and get something done.
Right.
And so if you have those qualities, they might be like, well, engineers don't sleep.
No. We get the job done.
Yeah. And engineers know how to manage a project, and engineers know how to organize things. So I think maybe it wasn't a clear fit, but there's probably some factors that helped in that.
Oh, for sure. But I will say though that my time in New Hampshire definitely made me realize, like, wow, this is for me.
Organizing events,
organizing people, making sure that everyone is comfortable. It wasn't marketed that way, but it was definitely a hospitality job.
Okay.
Yes.
I am starting to see the connections.
Yes.
Okay, so you went from organizing people, organizing events, and then was that the pivot then that you made to Búho, or was there something in between?
There were quite a few things in between. I finished that job in the summer because these conferences happen all over the world. It was implied that I had my foot in the door to do that job again in Galveston. I'm thinking, okay, this is great. It's in my home state. I could just chill in Brownsville, have a little sabbatical in the fall, and then get back to work in the winter. But sadly, they must have found someone else for the position for their own reasons. And I don't hold that against them at all. But it made me think, oh, shoot, I, quote unquote, wasted all this time in Brownsville for nothing.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm thinking, well, what do I do? There's really nothing like that in Brownsville or anywhere in the valley.
Not at the time.
Not at the time. Right. Hopefully soon. And now we're seeing these conference-style hotels. Maybe. I don't know. And then as far as my degree was concerned, well, the powerhouse, which still was a powerhouse at the time, was a SpaceX over at Starbase. But I thought, oh no, I don't think I'm gonna compete.
Okay, fair enough.
Especially having studied with people where that was engineering is their bread and butter.
Yeah, there's a certain level of passion.
Right. So I thought, shoot. But I did get involved in the fuel industry with my family. And it was worthwhile in its own way. It did give me a little bit of a business background.
Okay.
To add another point in
the
Búho
through thread
tapestry.
where
Yes. But that also gave me the time and flexibility to be involved in all these community organizations. Things like Rotary, Toastmasters, Leadership Brownsville. Hanging out with people that wanted to see Brownsville grow and people that saw the good in Brownsville. I wanted to do something too.
Yeah.
I didn't know what, but I wanted to do something just like them. Yeah. So now it's come full circle.
Yeah.
I had the idea in the shower. I started a little pop-up shop. The storefront fell from the sky.
And here we are.
The bookstore's taken a life of its own.
So kind of a roundabout path to Búho, but not really, right? Everything seems to have kind of contributed in some way, shape, or form to this business that you've built, this space that you've built. And I think when people walk into the store, when people meet you, they don't necessarily see all of this pathway unless they spend a significant amount of time chatting with you. Well, and I love this because I get to know so much about my guests that I didn't know before, despite all of our meetings and encounters. And I think the question that came up to me and the reason that I invited you here was you are an entrepreneur and you've built a business, but you also went to college and studied a traditional career path that had nothing to do with business.
Right.
On the surface, at least.
On the surface, yes.
And so the question is, do you think that entrepreneurs need college?
Ooh. Okay. Not necessarily, but massive but.
Okay. Big capital letters.
Yes. does give them very valuable skills that do give them a sharper edge as opposed to people that didn't go to college and started a business. I'm just going to speak for myself. My particular degree gave me problem-solving skills. Let's think back to like maybe why Barnes & Noble didn't have the data they needed. They may have looked at our alleged low literacy rates, at our median income, maybe the cost of rent or whatever it is. So I thought, okay, the only way for a bookstore to work in Brownsville, I thought, was for it to be absolutely community focused. It has to cater to the needs and tastes of Brownsville. I'm not sure if I'll still do this. I'll play it by ear. But as far as new books were concerned, I have a lot of what you would call starter books that are very common for people that are starting a reading journey. And above all, secondhands. If low median income rate is a concern, then have the books be accessible. Yeah, and then have frequent sales. Not so much with the idea like, oh no, the sales are low, I have to do something. No, but more for the idea, let's keep the inventory fresh, while also
and encourage people
exactly, while also giving something to our customers at a decent price, like our back to school sale right now.
Okay, so it helps.
Yes.
Because it gives you skills.
Right.
I also am curious because I had a similar experience where I was able to leave the city because of scholarships and college.
Yes.
And I think, and one of the most valuable things I think can come from higher education is the opportunity to see new things and see different things. You mentioned being inspired by some of the bookstores you saw in New England.
Yes.
And I know you were recently in New York. I think of the Strand as one of the first bookstores that I encountered that wasn't Barnes & Noble or one of the chains, and thinking, this could happen at scale. Right. And for context, for people who might not know, the Strand is one of the biggest independent bookstores in the country, probably. Not necessarily in size because it is New York and so constraints, but in quantity of books. It's like wall to wall.
Yes.
And I remember during orientation for undergrad showing up and being like, this is amazing. And I think those kinds of things help us envision what we want for our own city, right? And spending that time with community members and seeing what people needed, I think those things can come together.
Absolutely. And then the other things that a college could definitely impart on a student would be learning and socializing with people from different walks of life. If you don't go to college, on average, you will stick to people that you normally
interact with.
You would normally interact with people with similar interests and what have you. But if you go to college, you develop the very valuable skill of being tasked to work with people who may be nothing like you, people who maybe think different than you, worship different from you, vote different from you, but you're all in this group project.
And your grade equally depends on it.
Yes.
It's like an equalizer for like, okay, we can all have our beliefs, but we all believe we need to get an A, right?
Yeah. No, that's a super important skill, especially if you are building something for the community. And where everyone in the community is absolutely welcome.
I think that's a good segue to the next question I have, because I think I've seen this process go. And one of the things I really admire is that you look at what the community needs and what the community is asking for. I know you do frequent surveys and polls and things like that. And you adjust, but without necessarily compromising, I think, the vision for Búho. And I think you do that really well. And I'm curious what you see as maybe the next steps for strengthening community while also moving Búho forward.
See, I feel like Búho is about to enter a very interesting chapter in its life. Granted, I saw the Barnes & Noble storm coming well before it
I'm
was
sure
announced.
you did. You've got all the data and all of the things.
No, because look, the thing is, I'm sure Barnes had the city officials sign NDAs.
Yes.
And I respect them for not disclosing anything, which
Correct.
is what you're supposed to do if you sign an NDA.
Yes.
So I was told about Barnes & Noble's 2 months before it was officially announced by my hairdresser in the mall.
Oh.
Someone told her the chisme.
That's crazy.
Yes, someone told her the chisme, and she's going, hey, by the way, there's this very big bookstore coming. I go, excuse me?
Oh, you're well connected.
Well, sort of.
But you're plugged in, and I think that, helps you get that.
Yeah. So as I was getting my haircut, Fernanda, I call our wonderful manager, Jackie, and I said, Jackie, Barnes is coming.
Okay. Now, you responded
Yes.
when the news came out to the public.
Right.
Very diplomatically.
Yes.
And graciously, I would say,
Yes,
given
yes.
the history of these bookstores and their denial of our community.
Right.
But you had a freak out before.
Yes. Yeah. Well, granted, I feel like every small business owner feels that way. If an independent grocery owner is chilling in a town of 20,000 and then the Walmart shows up, I'm sure they would.
It's panic time.
Right. So now it comes time to adapt, try to strategize, and see how to move forward. That is one of the major advantages of having a small business. We don't have the constraints that a corporation like Barnes has.
You don't have to go through all the bureaucracy to make changes.
Right. So right now, to prepare, we've expanded our new books. We've flirted with different what are called sidelines, like non-book items in the inventory. But to really keep our heads above the water, coffee.
I'm so excited. I know that this has been, I think since the moment we walked into the store, everyone's been like, when's the coffee coming?
Yes. And granted,
I know you've been working hard on it. I know this has not been just like stalling.
Yes. But there is a very promising update on that. It does take a while for anyone in the city of Brownsville to get the hang of how they do things, especially because they are aware and they are trying to fix that with softwares like Acela. GWiz is the new one that they're trying to introduce. But I feel like because they want to fix this problem right away, it becomes a little bit difficult for us to adapt to these new changes.
Yeah, adapting is a theme that we've been seeing through some of the episodes in different ways, right? But it's hard to adapt when the changes come fast.
Right. But long term, I feel like it's a good solution for
the process.
For future business owners here in Brownsville.
Not Guild 2025, but for future ones. So why do you think coffee is the answer to how you combat big business?
Well, more than anything, it is a reason for people to stay in the store longer. It is also a reason for people to get something in the store. Maybe I get a lot of people that just walk in, waltz around the shelves, browse. They tell me, yeah, you have a really pretty store, which I appreciate because they might bring that up to someone else who could support me. The thing is that particular interaction does not go to rent and and granted, for my line of work, money should not be the number one priority. Even though it does keep the lights on, independent bookstores, above all, uber alles experience.
Yeah, and I think it is an experience to go to Búho, to be a part of the Búho community. You have a lot of amazing events that I've gotten to be a part of or be an audience for. And I can totally see that of like, sometimes I go in there for one of those events. And I'm not necessarily looking for a book, but I would still like to support the store in some way. Right.
And see, that is, I feel like the events themselves add a whole a special amount of value to the business. Right now, we are in the middle of our Chautauqua on the Rio lecture series, inspired by the lecture series in Chautauqua, New York. I feel like half of those are of the attendees. Half of them go to the lectures, they enrich themselves, and they leave. And that warms my heart because that's what they're for. They are meant to be free events. But they come later and then they purchase a book, they purchase a poster, a t-shirt, whatever it may be. Oh, we have plushies now, so we'll throw those in too.
Oh, so okay, I need to go now.
Yes. I feel like the person who really embodies this idea of strategic generosity the most, Mr. Beast.
Yes.
On YouTube.
Yes. I'm not super familiar. I'm not going to pretend like I am because I'm not on that side of the internet.
Yeah, me neither.
But I have seen throughout the years, I have heard the name and how it's grown into now this thing that all of the young people watch.
Yes.
But he's just giving things away.
Yes.
And it has worked.
Yes. and people, these big businesses want, oh my gosh, this guy is really popular. He's giving things away. Can I have my ad on your channel?
It's like kindness is popular or something, or like it works.
Yes.
So are you trying to be the Mr. Beast of Brownsville?
I mean, if it works, it works.
Well, I think that's really cool because I think one of the things people maybe don't think about enough is how a business can both be a source of income or revenue or profit, depending on which way you're going with that, but also can serve. I think these are not opposed ideas.
Agree.
If the business is done right. And if it's thought through carefully. And I think kind of going back to that idea of you do a lot of research for this to meet the needs. I think that is part of the skills you've learned as an engineer, right? You cannot start a project without understanding where you're building.
Right.
So what are some things that you've learned about Brownsville through this project?
Above all, Brownsville loves to read.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, I know I love to read. And I have a suspicion based on how many people are at your store and people are at the library. But can you tell us more about how you figured this out or how you know this?
Yes. I feel like, and granted, this comes from the engineering background. I want to question with how this number, this literacy rate figure came
it's
from.
Calculated.
Right. Because that was one of the things I picked up in Worcester. Whenever you get data, you have to question
the methodology.
Why is it the way it is? What questions did they ask? Did they account for people who were bilingual in our case?
I don't think they did.
Yeah. And so
I'm sorry to spoil the ending, but I don't think they did.
I'm sure that that's correct. And the reason why that figure is the way it is. So maybe because of that, these big bookstores up to now haven't given us a chance. We'll be seeing that later in the year, thankfully. And I'll say why. I'll tell you why I say thankfully in a bit. I've learned that Brownsville loves to read. So if we look back at the alleged low literacy rates figure, you have to question the methodology, like you said. Maybe they didn't take into account people who are bilingual, or we don't know. We don't know exactly why
how
that number.
they did that study.
Right. And we have to question why. But I feel like it's because of that maybe big name bookstores, they haven't given Brownsville a chance up until this year. I will say, though, that I think Brownsville likes to read because people enter the store for the first time and you could see this look on their face, like the inner child has come out.
The kid who loved the Scholastic Book Fair.
Yes. yes. Or maybe someone who may have not grown up with that. They feel like they've entered something special. Because it is something special.
It is.
Yes, I poured heart, soul, sweat, tears, and blood into it.
There's been some journeys.
Yes. And I feel like people could pick up on that. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm not much of a reader. Where do I begin?
Oh, that you have such power.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so jealous. What do you do? What do you recommend?
Yes.
When they're first starting.
Right.
So what do you usually recommend?
Yeah, well, it depends. For the kiddos, I always refer to Coraline. Coraline's our bestseller. For people that are maybe older, the Alchemist is a good one. I feel like that was a really powerful one because it could also be interpreted as self-help told as a story.
Yes.
But yeah, no, there's a thousand ways to answer that question. And I feel like I could get to a concrete answer by asking questions. I always like to ask, do you want to be informed or do you want to be entertained?
Oh, I like that question.
Yes. And for there, okay, fiction, nonfiction. Okay. If it's fiction, what shows do you like to watch on Netflix? Oh, mysteries. Okay, maybe just some Agatha Christie. Yeah. Just by asking questions, I could start someone on their reading journey.
I really like this approach of asking questions when people ask for help. Because I was just talking to another guest about this, but in our community, I think asking for help is both common practice, but also can be intimidating sometimes.
Yes.
I think we're very used to asking for help from our friends and our neighbors and our compadres and family members. Yeah. But asking a professional or someone that appears to be a professional, depending on how you choose to present, can be scary. And to be met with, this is exactly where you should start, can be a little bit frightening.
Yeah.
Versus, do you want to be informed or entertained? Well, I hadn't thought about it, but I feel like now I'm invited into a conversation.
Right.
And I think that's really great, both for making sure that people keep asking questions, but also that they do get something they like. Right. Which is, I think, the main thing that turns people away from reading is if you read a book that was boring once. And then you're like, oh, no, reading's not for me, when really it was just that book.
It was just the book. You're right.
I love the system of turning people into readers.
Right.
And I know that that's one of the things you mentioned in your response to the outcry from people, because, and I think to give a little bit of context, it was presented as, on the news sites that published this and the people that shared this, Brownsville's finally getting a bookstore.
Yes.
And I was one of those people that was like very close to typing a comment of, excuse me, we've had a bookstore.
Yes. A lot of people did.
And I saw enough people doing it that I was like, they don't need me to add to this cacophony of voices. But you very graciously came in and said, this is actually good for Búho. And I'm curious about that because I kind of get it, but I'm also nervous for this place that I've now come to love very dearly. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. Okay, the presence of a Barnes & Nobles in Brownsville is a net positive for the city. I say that because it will only increase the amount of readers in our city. And just like how you saw a lot of people on Facebook celebrating, wow, Brownsville's finally getting a bookstore. Well, a lot of people come in Búho's defense saying, you have
very strong advocates.
Yes. Oh my, it's almost without fail. Someone will be there to
correct the narrative.
Right, to correct the narrative and mention, no, Brownsville has had an independent bookstore for quite some time already. I feel that people will inevitably start their reading journey at Barnes. And that's amazing because it could happen that they could eventually come to downtown, maybe have a brunch in the area. And they may have heard whispers that there is, in fact, another bookstore that's locally owned. They go, hey, well, I'm reading this. Maybe the next book in the series, maybe Búho might have it, or they could
Mhm.
order it for me. And then they go in, they experience what an indie bookstore is like. The magic,
vibes.
the vibe, the charm, the events. If
Mhm.
there's one going on, they can play the free board games.
Mhm.
I'm not here to say that one is necessarily better than the other, but
I am.
but as a small business owner, I'm there to offer another option,
Mhm.
and then I trust the customers to make whatever choice feels best depending on their day.
I like that. I like the spirit of, ultimately seeing this from a perspective of what's good for the city is good for me.
Yes.
And what's good for me is good for the city, because
Yes.
I think those do go hand in hand. One of the questions we ask our students when they first start working with us is to give us their definition of progress. Because of our
It's
name.
in the name, yes.
It's in the name. And I want to ask all of our guests as well.
Oh my gosh.
So how would you define progress? And that could either be personal, community, business, whichever way you want to answer that.
I feel like if we're looking at this in a community mindset, progress is when you get as many people as you can on board to add value to their community.
Okay.
They don't have to necessarily start a business or do something great, but even simple things like holding open the door to strangers, asking someone how their day's been, that adds value to your community in a small but significant way to that person. That especially pertains to Brownsville, because I keep on hearing like, Brown. I keep on hearing people.
We have a lot of
bicker.
negative self-talk.
We do. We do. So I feel like progress, as far as Brownsville is concerned, is getting as many people to wake up and realize there's incredible things going on, and include them in some way to be part of this change, or to be kind to their fellow neighbors. That way we could all add value to the community together.
I think a podcaster I listen to, who's also an author, Kendra Adachi, likes to remind us, good is here right now. And I think that's a lot of what you're talking about. You're right. We have a lot of negative self-talk. And I say we because sometimes I was a part of it. That's part of why I decided to leave for college. And,
Me too.
and we have so much good here. We have so much good now because of all of the people who have decided to do something good for the community or to work for the community. And I think we are making a lot of progress in leaps and bounds because that number of people is growing exponentially. From what I can see and what I hope is true, more people are learning about these ways to get involved. I think Búho is a part of that. I think the community events we've started having more of are a part of that. And it's a really cool definition of progress too, because you can start as small as you want. Right? This idea of just hold the door open, pick up some trash, right? Make sure that, you say hi to your neighbors and you're nice on the road. Like some easier than others, granted. But all of these can be small actions that eventually lead to something bigger, right? A lot of what you talked about with the origins of Búho were conversations about, well, people asked, why don't we have a bookstore?
Right.
And it sprung from that. And I think the more that we connect with others, the more we get ideas for where we can fit into that puzzle of progress. So this is a little bit more of a reflective question, but what advice would you give younger you?
What advice? Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. I'm hitting you with all the hard ones.
I love it.
But I'm curious.
What advice would I give my younger self? Ooh. Here's the thing, Fernanda. I feel like if I were to give advice to younger me, there would probably not be a Búho.
It's the butterfly effect.
Yes,
right? Or the
yes.
grandfather effect, whichever one that if you go back in time and change something.
Right.
Okay.
Because suppose I were to say, go back and tell him exactly what I told you, add value to, and I think it's, I must add value to my group projects. And then I go one way and then I become an engineer completely, full-fledged. Wherever that may be, maybe up in New England or wherever. Or
Beijing.
Yes. Then there would be no
Búho.
indie bookstore in Brownsville, or if there is, it would not necessarily have the same style or flair.
So maybe the advice is stay the course.
Stay the course. Stay the course, have fun, and enjoy it, because it's not going to happen again.
That made me sad.
Memento mori.
Yes. I think I would give similar advice to younger me, right? Again, good is here right now. I think we're often forward thinking and looking ahead and, the future, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then you realize, wait, but this is so much fun. And I'm never going to get to do these group projects with my classmates, unless you decide to go back to school. So kind of in closing, what is giving you hope right now?
What is giving me hope? I am very hopeful. I have kind of goes back to something we talked about
Is it
before.
that these permits are going to go through?
I hope so. They gave me corrections after I finally submitted them correctly after 4 tries. And then they came back and they asked me to make 31 revisions. But thankfully, many of those are overlapped into several departments, so it's more like 15.
Okay, manageable.
Yes.
Okay.
So I delegated this task to one professional, this task to another professional. Well, both of those sent their work back to me.
Wonderful.
Yes. So we should be doing take 2.
Okay.
Take 2 correctly. Take 6, if you want to call it that way. This week. And I feel that once that's in place, then we could start looking into how the heck we're going to build this coffee bar.
I'm excited to see it.
Yes.
Is that the thing giving you hope, the coffee bar, the future of the coffee bar?
Yes. Especially because the way I have it in mind, Fernanda, it's going to be the most elegant thing south of San Antonio.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I'm excited. I don't know. Okay, not to poo-poo on this, but I was envisioning Homey because of I feel like the general space is very inviting and warm and cozy.
Yes.
But I like the idea of this being really elegant.
Yes.
I feel like that is actually going to add something really special to the place.
Right. And it's not going to be like too flashy. It's not going to be like Victorian or anything, but it will make sense for Búho.
I like it.
Yes.
Okay, so we usually like to end the show where I'll share something practical for people to do, something that they can share, and then something that is hopeful. So I think hopeful is that Búho should have a coffee situation soon, which I am also excited about. Practical, I would like y'all to go to the Chautauquan, the Rio series.
Oh, yes.
If you don't get to do it this year, I assume they will continue in the future.
Yes.
So definitely check those out and check out all of the events. Gilbert posts a calendar at the start of the month of the events that are happening at the store. And there's all sorts of cool things that happen there. And most, if not all of the events are either free or accessible in terms of pricing. So definitely go check those out. And then as far as share that we have an indie bookstore, that Barnes is not the first one, nor is it indie, and that there's a really cool thing happening downtown, because I think this is a really wonderful space in so many ways besides just being a bookstore. Is there anything you'd like to plug specifically?
Oh, yes.
Maybe you want to share with our audience?
Oh, sure. And then the other thing that gives me hope is the very mysterious Phase 4 that I've been teasing.
I wish you would tell us.
Yes, Phase 1 was the pop-up shop. Phase 2 is the storefronts. Phase 3 is the upcoming coffee program. Phase 4.
But it's coming soon from what I saw.
Yes. a lot of people have speculated that phase 4 is a second Búho. It is not a second Búho.
Okay.
I mean, maybe that's
Down the road.
A phase 5. Who knows? Who knows?
Okay.
But let's just say that phase 4 will totally change the game for indie bookselling. In as far as I'm concerned, nothing like this exists south of Austin.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm intrigued, but I will not ask on camera because now I have ideas for what this could be. And of course, I think I'm right. So, well, thank you all so much for joining us. This has been another great episode of RioProgress with a fantastic guest. I'm so happy to have this conversation. And thank you all for joining us. I hope that you continue to follow our journey and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you all so much for watching this podcast and following along with us. If you really liked it, please feel free to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere that you might be listening to this. And if you want more information about the work that we do, you can go to RioProgress.org or you can follow us on socials at RioProgress.